Welcome back to Arbitress YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful palazzo trouser. It is very simple to make and you need just few measurements to do this. If this is what you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So the palazzo trouser is the trouser that is usually fitted up to the hip area, but from there it just goes down straight. So it depends on how big you want it to be, but we'll just be doing a regular medium palazzo and it's really simple to make. Okay, so now what I'm doing, I folded my fabric into two. I'm cutting the front block first, and then after folding it into two, from this folded point here, I measured 1 inch all the way. 1 inch, I measured 1 inch all the way, and then I ruled it as seen. So now what I need now is my waist measurement, which is here for my waist, and then my crotch measurement. The crotch I'm working with is 11 inches and I've ruled that also. So these are the two important measurements that I need. For a basic trouser, you need your knee, your waist to knee, your waist to ankle and all that. But for this, I'll just be using my waist to crotch and my waist to floor length. That is where I want the trouser to be. And the waist to floor length is around 45 inches, which is the length of this Ankara fabric that I'm using. So I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do now is to take the measurement of my waist circumference. The circumference I'm working with is 27 inches and I'll be dividing that by 2, and that is going to give me 6.75. that's 6 1/4. So on my waistline here, this is not so long, that's why I'm using the selvage, because it's just a tutorial. So on my waistline here, I'll be measuring 6 1/4 and 3/4 like this. Okay, then from there I'll be adding that to this. So I'll need 1 inch for my dart, and then for my seam allowance I'll be adding another 1 inch to it. So which means after dividing my waist by 4, I'll be adding 2 inches to it, 1 inch for that and 1 inch for seam allowance. So now the 6.75 that I have, I've turned to 8.75. So what I have here, I'm going to be measuring it on my crotch line also. And then if you notice, I'm taking my measurement from here, from the 1 inch allowance that I did not enter into the 1 inch for the waist. I'm taking it from this 1 inch mark all the way to this place. So now I measured from here to here and I have 8.75. okay, so not correct, it's around here. So now that 8.75, I'll take it down to the crotch measurements and I'll also mark it, and then I'm going to make that into a straight line. Okay, I hope the chalk is visible. So after having this, now I'm going to take my thigh measurement. That's round your thigh, the fullest part of your thigh, and the thigh measurement I'm working with here is 25.5. So now here I'll be taking my thigh measurement. The thigh I'm working with is 25.5, so I'm going to be adding 2 inches to that for ease, and that is going to give me 27.5. So now the 27.5 that I have now, I'll be dividing it by 2, and that will give me around 13.75. So now from here, I'm taking this measurement from here, not from the 1 inch. I'm going to be measuring 13.75. that is for my crotch. Okay, so my 13.75 is here. The next thing for me now is to draw my crotch curve. So to draw my crotch curve, from this angle where it intersects here, this angle here, I'm going to be drawing like a diagonal line, a straight diagonal line like this, upwards in between these two lines. So if you want to know the middle of the two lines, you can just use this angle that is on your ruler. You can see that it is like V. So this center part here, you are going to be placing it at this center here. Once you place it, one of the V, you just follow one of the V, you can see. So let me try to bring this down so that we can see it better. Okay, so what I was saying is, you see this V that we have here will guide you in drawing your mark to have something central. So there is a center line there. You just place your ruler on your center line on this line from your waist that you measured. Once you place it there, and then you just note where your V is, which is here, and then you rule it like that so that you have something perfect. Okay, so after drawing this diagonal line, the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure what I have from where my waist stops to where my crotch stops here. And if I measure this now, I have around 4 inches. So the 4 inches that I have here, I'm going to be dividing it by 4. Whatever you have here, you divide this by 4. So by 4 by 4 is going to give me 1 inch, and the 1 inch is what I'm going to be measuring on this line that I have. So here I'm going to measure 1 inch from this arc, and 1 inch is here. Then I'm going to take my curved ruler and then join it with a curve. So I'm going to join it upwards here to my waist measurement. So my waist measurement here, because this crotch line is very important. You don't want it to be too long so that your trouser will not be packing at the crotch area. Then I'm going to join this also. So if you have any sharp points, you just need to blend it in. Okay, so this is what I have now, and my crotch is ready. So now, because this is a palazzo pant, like I said, it is not a fisted pant, so I don't need all those ankle or other measurements. So from here, what I have here, I'm just going to measure it straight down up to my floor length, and my trouser is almost ready. So now to get this, I just measured my thigh measurement, which is 13 3/4. So the 13 3/4 that I have here, I'm going to be measuring on the floor also, and then I'll connect it using a straight line. So here, from here also, I'm going to be measuring the 13 3/4. And then using my ruler, I'm going to connect it straight. Okay, so I've taken the measurement straight down like this. Like I said, assuming this is a normal pencil trouser, we'll be taking our regular round knee measurement to shape the trouser, but this is not going to be having any shape. It's just going to be shaped up to here. So now to shape the upper part, remember the upper part is still like this. To shape the upper part, I'm going to be connecting from, remember my waist measurements, I took it from here. I did not enter into the allowance. So using my curved ruler, I'm going to be shaping the waist from where I took it here up to where I started taking my, okay, so I'll be shaping it from here, which is the waist measurement, up to where I took my thigh measurement, using my curved ruler, so that I will have like a hip curve around that area. Okay, you can see that it is now shaped around here. So remember that I added my dart allowance to it, so I'll be taking my dart now. To take my dart, I need my bust span measurement, which is also known as the nipple to nipple. For this person is 8 inches. 8 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 4 inches. So I'll measure the 4 inches like this, and the dart is going to be 5 inches long. Okay, so now I'll just make this into a straight line for my dart, and then once I have this straight line here, I'm going to be taking half inch on each side. Remember, I left 1 inch for the dart, so I'm taking half inch, and then I'm going to be connecting that to the dart leg, and then my dart is done. So I can now cut out this trouser. Okay, so that is how you make the front block of your trouser. So when I'm cutting this now, I'll cut out this shape from here up to my crotch measurement. Then from here, I'm just going to slash it open because it's not going to be shaped. And here I'm going to cut on my crotch like this, and then down like that also. So this has been cut out now, and you can see what we have. I'm just going to notch my that area, and then I'm going to use this to cut the back panel. So the back panel is just going to be having a few modifications. Okay, so to cut the back bodies, I've put the fabric on fold again, okay, because we are cutting two and I'll be cutting it together. So I'm just going to place my front bodies on it like this. I hope you can see it. Or let me just use the other side so that I can use the right side of the entire fabric, which is brighter, so that we can see it. Okay, so this is the front panel and I'm placing it on it. Okay, so I've placed it on it. Now you can see the edge here is the same. So now the little modification that we have here is on the upper part here. I'll be measuring 1 inch for my bum right. Remember, there is a bum at the back before I place my front panel. So I'll be placing it on the 1 inch allowance that I left for my bum right, which means that my length will not be shorter. Remember, Ankara is by 45 inches and the length I'm working with is also 45 inches. So if you are using Ankara, it is advisable to work with it on the yardage area so that you have enough room. But in the case of this Ankara, it has a pattern that I'm following, so I really cannot do that. So now, after doing that, on my crotch area here, I'm going to be extending my crotch line here, just so that I can accommodate the bum. And on that extension there, I'm going to be marking 2.5 inch. If the person you are making this for is it has a big bum, you can increase this to 3 inches or 3.5 inches. So now I've marked that, and then on the crotch line area here, I'm going to be increasing my crotch. So I'll bring in the one with the mark so that I can see it clearly, and then I'm just going to be extending this crotch line upwards like this. So there I'll mark around 1.5 inch extra. Remember, the front crotch stops here, so where the front crotch stops, I'm going to be marking 1.5 inch like this. Then I can remove it, and then from there I'll connect it to my 1 inch bum raise that I have here. I'll not be adding any extra allowance to the back bodies. Remember, when I was drafting this on my waistline, I already added my 1 inch allowance to the front, so I'm not going to be adding any extra allowance to the back. I'm just going to be connecting from my new crotch line here to this 1.5 that I added to my crotch curve, and then up to my waistline like that. So after connecting that, on my, you can add like 1 or 2 inches allowance to the sides on your ankle, on your knee area, but I don't want this to be too big, so I'm just going to be blending what I have here to one side here. So I'm just going to be blending this, and then I'll maintain what I already have. I hope you understand. But if you don't mind it to be too big, you can just add 2 inches allowance all the way down and then blend it like that. So after this, I'm done with the back panel, and then I'll cut it out. Okay, so I've cut this now. This is the front block and this is the back block. So I'm just going to notch my dart here like that, and then for my front panel part of my trouser, I like to go down by 1 inch here. I just like the fit that it gives around the belly button area. So once I go down by 1 inch here, I'm going to be connecting it to my sides like this. And also on the back panel that we went up by 1 inch here, I'll also be connecting it to the side, because the side has to rhyme. Remember, we'll be sewing them, we'll be joining them together. Okay, so I'm going to cut it. I just want to take them one after the other so that we can get it. So I'm cutting out the back now. The 1 inch bum rise that I went here, I connected it to the side so that I have the same thing here. And then on the front panel, I went down by 1 inch because I like the fit that it gives to my trousers. And then I'm going to be cutting it, so I have the same thing on the side. The difference is just here. So around the bum right here now, I have like 2 inches difference. Okay, let me cut the other one, and then we can now go over to the machine and start to sew it. So you can decide to put your zipper. For this one, I'll be putting the zipper on the side because I did not had any allowance, but you can also put your zipper on the back or on the front, whichever place that you wish to put it. So now the first thing I'll do now is to join my front on the crotch like this, and also my back on the crotch. Then I'll take my dart and then bring it back to show us. So I've sewn in my dart now, as you can see, and then I've joined it on the crotch. This is the front, and you can see that the crotch is not packing. You can even see from here because it's not so deep. Okay, so this is the front and this is the back panel. And I don't like to add too much allowance to the waistline because I want it to be snatched. So if you know you sew with plenty allowance, you may need to add that to your own. And I just sew by little allowance, so that is why I just used the 1 inch allowance that I have like that for my seam allowance. But you know how you sew, okay? So if you know that you sew too much, so you need to add the allowance for it. So after that, the next thing to do, I'm going to sew now, is to take the crotch on the under part together like this, and then I'm going to be joining it to the hem like this on both sides before I join the sides. So I've sewn it on the under here. Now the next thing is just to join the sides by the 1 inch allowance that I added. Then I'm going to fix my zipper. So if you be adding band to this, remember that you need to deduct your band measurement from your actual measurement. Like if you want to add 1 inch band here, when you are measuring, you need to put your tape rule by 1 inch up before you start your actual measurement. But I think I'll just be turning this with a bias. Okay, so this is our trouser, and you can see how beautiful this is looking. So you can see the crotch area is not packing and is well fitted. So this is it on the sides. I've joined the sides together like I said, and this is the other side. Like I said, I'll be adding a side zipper to this, so I'll be fixing my zipper into this allowance that I held with pin. So if you are the one that sew with too much allowance, you may need to add extra allowance to this, but I don't like to add too much allowance, especially on the waist, so that I can snatch it. And the 1 inch that I went down on the waist, I like the feel effect that it gives my trouser on the waistline there. So it is really looking beautiful and simple. And you can see that the palazzo is not too big because I did not have too much allowance to it. I just went down from the crotch area like that, so it means it will be fitted on the hip line up to the crotch area, and then it will just go straight down like that. You can see how beautiful this is looking. If you enjoyed this tutorial, let us know in the comment section. Like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't, and if you'd like us to do a tutorial on a pencil trouser, you can let us know in the comment section also. See you in the next one. Bye.